Welcome to the 10th chapter of the Book of Nehemiah. The rulers, and we'll find out what their names are and then what they do over this setting a seal and the trust. And it begins, and Epi, over the ones setting seal, were Nehemias, Artasasta. There we again, Nehemiah, the Artasasta, the leader. And we went through this in other places where there's also Arthasasta, which is some people think was King Artaxerxes, which I don't see. But here it says who Nehemiah is, the Arthasasta. He's the son of Akaliah and Zedekias, son of Araiah, and Azarias, and Iramias, Fasur, Amarias, Melchias, Atus, Sevani, Iram, Maluk, Meramoth, Abdiah, Danael. Now, if this is the Daniel that we know, it's a possibility. Ganathon, Baruch, Mesulam, Aviah, Miamin, Mazias, Vilgai, and Samaias. These were the priests. So basically is going and talking about the priesthood and Levites. And the Levite, Jesus, that's Jesus, again, the same spelling, son of, there's other names, people have that name, son of Azaniu, Vaneas, from the sons of Enadad, Kadmiel, and his brothers, Adelphi, Philadelphia, Adelphi, city of brotherly love, Savanias, Adhuias, Kalitan, Pheliah, Anan, Mikah, Roob, Isavias, Sakur, Saravias, Sevanias, and Odhuah, sons of Vanue. The rulers of the people, archontos of the laity, the people, Phoros, Faath, Moab, places, Elam, and Sathuiah, sons of Vanai. Now, the people who are reading this know who these people are. Some places it seems like they're places and others people, and I don't know the difference. I don't know if it matters, but I'm not related to any of them. So, Asgag, Vivai, Adonias, Vagoi, Adin, Atir, Ezekias, Asur, Odhuiah, Asom, Visi, Arif, Anathoth, Novai, Megav, Mesulam, Izir, Mesozavil, Saduk, Eaduas, Phaltias, Anan, Anaiah, Osea, Ananias, Asuv, Alois, Phalai, Sovik, Reum, Esavana, Masias, Aiah, Ainan, Enan, Maluk, Arim, Vana, and the rest of the people were the priests, the Levites, and the gatekeepers, and the singers, and the Nethanim, who were the caretakers of the temple, and all the ones being parted from the peoples of the land, that is, they have left Babylon, to the law of God in Jerusalem, and their wives, their sons, and their thigateres, daughters, a transliteration there, everyone knowing, and perceiving, growing in strength with their Adelphus, brothers, and imprecating maledictions upon themselves. And imprecate a malediction upon yourself. That would be something like saying something like, well, if I don't do these things and follow what I said, then may warts grow in my hiney or something like that. And then entering into a curse. And a curse would be something like, may I be cursed to not have children. And into an oath. And an oath would be something where you swear by, I swear by my mother's grave, to go by the nomo of Theou, the law of God, which was given by the Hiri hand, chiropractor hand, of Moses, by the bondman of Theou, to guard and to do or observe, 4160, the verb to do, all the entolah, the commandments of the Lord our God, and his judgments. So the command is what he tells us, not like the 10 Commandments, what you should and shouldn't do. A judgment can maybe be more of something depending on the circumstances, not always the same thing. And an order would be by either somebody in authority telling a person where to go or what to do. They're all a little bit different. And to not give our thigateres, daughters, to the leis of the geese of the land, and to not take their daughters for our sons. So we're not going to intermarry. And this is very important to the Jews. It is even today that they don't intermarry, but they do. Of course, I have, like I mentioned in the last couple of chapters, about my Israeli friend who married a Japanese lady. And concerning the peoples of the land, and then I have another friend, my good friend Rich. He has a father that was not Jewish, and then he married a Jewish woman. So Rich has a Jewish mother. And now, Rich married a Jewish woman, and they had 3 children. So actually, the 3 children are more Jewish than Rich, the father, because the 3 children had 3/4 Jewish blood in them, where Rich only had 1/2. So interesting, isn't it? Oh, and then it continues, and it says, and concerning the peoples of the land, bringing things for purchase. So they're the people that were not Jews, and they wanted to sell things to the Jews that were in Jerusalem. So they came and they brought their goods outside of the walls of Jerusalem to sell. And all things for sale during what? The Sabbath day. Well, that was a no-no to Nehemiah. They're not to buy or sell on the Sabbath, and this was in the law set up in the back in the Torah. And I don't know where exactly it was, but it's there. And to deliver up for sale, or not to buy or sell. We shall not buy from them during the Sabbato, nor during the holy days. Now, when I was a young child in St. Louis, Missouri, they had what they called blue laws, which a lot of stores were closed on Sunday. They considered that Sabbath. And some stores, if they were open, like a pharmacy, if they did sell liquor, they would cover it up. And I believe there are still some they call them dry counties, that still follow these blue laws in places that don't open during Sunday. Today, there's a few left. So basically, this is what it's talking about. And we shall ascend the 7th year, and the exaction of every debt of hand. So that is, see, there's a little dagger here. You can go down, and it says, we will obey the 7-year laws. Now I got to go find it. And we shall establish for us commandments to yield up for us 1/3 of the drachmu. There's a drachmas in there, drachmu, and die is two. Duo, short for duo. Triton, tree, three. Third, per year for the service of the iku to Theuimon, the house of our God. So they were to give, everybody was to give the same amount for that service. And then for the breads in front, the showbreads, and the perpetual sacrifice offering, and for the perpetual holokavtoma. We have a holocaust, comes from that word. Perpetual whole burnt offering of the Sabbaths, of the new moons, and for the holidays, and for the holy things, and the things for a sin offering to atone for Israel, and for the works of the house of our God, ergonomics. So they brought in the money for all these different things for sacrificing at different times, and for the repairs, the works, the repairs of the house. 34, and we cast klerus. A word cleric comes from that Greek word. A cleric is somebody that was chosen originally by a lot. Basically, today, instead of we don't cast lots, we flip a coin, heads or tails. And if it's heads, then we'll go to the right, left. Tails will go to the left, things like that. But they cast lots for the gifts of bearing wood. That was an honor, I suppose. I don't think it was a bad thing. The priests, the Levites, and the people to bring into the house of our God, for houses of our families, at seasons from times year by year, to burn upon the altar of the Lord our God, as is written in the law. So they're casting a lot for the gifts of bearing wood. Now, other places where this kleros is used in the New Testament was over Jesus' clothing. It's mentioned in all four Gospels that the soldiers cast lots for Jesus' clothing. And then in Acts 1:17, I think it was Peter mentions that Judas obtained a lot for the service. So somehow what he was talking about, obtaining this lot, that the service of being a disciple. And then in Acts 1:26 and 25 and 26, it talks about casting lots to find out who was going to replace Judas Iscariot. And the lot fell to Matthias, and we never hear from him again. So casting a lot isn't necessarily the end all of all things. Then in Acts 8:21, Simon, I believe, one of the disciples, when they were confronted by Simon the magician, who wanted to buy the power of the Holy Spirit, mentioned about denying him a lot with the disciples. So again, the lot. These are all the places in the New Testament I mentioned. And then it mentions in Acts 26:18 and 19, it says to receive a lot among the ones being sanctified. So we have been given a lot. Now, maybe that's the choice of God, of Jesus, and the lot shows that we have been chosen. And if we're chosen, then we have the lot. Not that we are chosen by flipping a coin, but by this lot. And then it mentions in Colossians 1:12 the lot of the holy ones, which is us. So again, another place where we are tied into a lot. And then, interesting, in 1 Peter 5:3, it talks about the elders are not to dominate the lots. So apparently they did choose people by casting lots. We'll get into more on lots in chapter 11 here of Nehemiah next. And now going back in verse 35, and to bring the first produce of our land and the first produce of the fruit of every tree year by year into the house of the Lord. So they're swearing that they're going to be doing this, giving the first fruits from all these things that they're supposed to be doing from the law, and the firstborn of our sons, and they're to make a payment for that. I think with Jesus it was a turtle dove, and if you're poor. Otherwise, it's probably some type of cattle. And of our cattle, as is written in the law, nomo, and the firstborn of our oxen and of our flocks. They take the firstborn and take them, and they go to the priesthood, into the Jerusalem, into the temple, to bring into the house of our God, for the priests officiating in the house of our God. Well, it's interesting how the Jews came back again in 1948. I hate to keep harping on this, but as we go through here and we see what these people did, the righteous things that they did, swearing that we're going to do all these things, the Jews today haven't sworn anything and have done just the opposite. So how can that stand? How can this country of Israel, if it stands, God has great mercy. But I see bad things in the future, and the beast coming from Book of Revelation and mentioning that and its defeat and the destruction of Jerusalem and scattering of the people again. And the first fruit of our grain and our first fruit offerings and the first fruit of every tree of wine, inu, we have vino, comes from that. Carpone, fruit, we have a carpophore, a fruit-bearing tree, and eleo, olive oil, and I forgot the word that they used to use for oil, but that's what it was. Oleo margarine, or oleo margarine. You still might see oleo comes from this eleu. That we shall bring to the priests into the treasuries of the house of our God, the gazophilakia. I think this is a Persian word because the treasury is thisavros in Greek. And the tenths of our land to the Levites. This is sort of a tax that they used to keep the government going because it was a theocracy. And the Levites had their service in the temple and so forth in other cities, the Levitical cities. That they themselves, the Levites, are receiving a tenth in all the cities of our servitude. So wherever these Levitical cities were, they were like judges and so forth. They received the tenth. But it says, and the priest of the son of Aaron shall be with the Levites in the tenth of the Levites. So the priests also get it. And the Levites shall offer the tenth of the tenth for the house of our God into a treasury of the house of the treasury. Now we have Thisavru and Gazophilakium. Both of them appear. Isn't that interesting? So they are, even the Levites who receive a tenth, it would be like if I was under the tithe, which I'm not, because I'm not Jewish, that I would, and I sold Bibles and received money for downloads of the Bible, then I should be giving a tenth of that for something. Basically, that's how it is. And then it continues, for into the Thesavrus, the sons of Israel and the sons of the Levites shall carry in the first fruits of the grain that people gave, and of the wine which they gave, and the olive oil which they gave. And the holy vessels are there, and that would be where Jesus turned the water into wine, maybe. And the priests, the ministers, liturgia, liturgy comes from that, the ministry, the liturgy, and the gatekeepers and the singers. And we shall not abandon the house of our God. This was all the oath that they took that they were going to do. Next in chapter 11, we'll go in more on these lots and what this was all about. Hope you'll join us in the next video seminar, and God bless.